Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 563 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. I think we're 3. Okay, well, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. And it is a cold day here at the Beaver Lodge. Again, nowhere near as cold as other parts of the nation, but cold enough for us to worry last night whether or not we were going to have to need the furnace as a backup to our heat pump, which fortunately we didn't, because we also learned yesterday that the motherboard on our furnace went out. And there was no way they were going to be able to fix it before the temperature
Well,
was
thank
supposed to
goodness
get
you
up to
got that heat
-20.
pump put in last year then, eh?
Yeah. So, but like the heat pump goes to like around like below -20 sometimes. That was about the max it can do, right? So you always have to have the furnace as a backup in case. But like I think last month we used one metric cube of gas.
Yeah, so like
Like
nothing.
like 22 cents of gas. I mean, the delivery charge was like $28, but it's
Yeah.
like the 22 cents of gas.
$28 delivery charge for 22 cents of gas. That
Yeah.
seems reasonable. You can tell it's going to be a cold day because here in the nation's capital, there is not a cloud in the sky.
Ooh, that's a sign.
Yeah. You know, I think it's -27 right now with the, let me see, what does it say here? It says, according to Environment Canada, -20 feels like -25, 69% humidity. So the second you step outside, I don't care how many layers you have on, you're going to feel that.
Yeah. Gee. Yeah, we're at -18 feels like -23, and don't
Didn't you
have any
have
humidity data at the moment.
an extreme temp warning yesterday for like -30?
Yeah. We didn't get that extreme, but we got for it was the maximum was supposed to go down was -19 on the base temperature, feeling like -27,
Right.
and well we hit -18, but feels like -23 instead. So I don't think we got the winds that we expected to get.
Yeah, there we got right now.
Okay. Oh, so it's actually colder here right now.
-23 is what it feels like.
Okay, feels like the same here, but our base
No,
is
Ottawa's
-18.
-20. There's
Okay,
Ottawa.
Ottawa's -20.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It's because
Okay,
you get a little bit of a reprieve from Lake Ontario.
yeah, indeed. So yeah, so I think over here it's our coldest day of the year so far, which again, nothing like the people who had -47 with wind chill. Where's that?
Miramichi, New Brunswick.
Ooh, -26.
Yeah.
Yay.
Feels like -33. And Banff, it is -8. In the mountains, right?
Oh,
Microclimate.
wow. Kit Kat says, Kit Kat, says, Mr. Grizzly, glad you sound better. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, he, Mr. Beaver A. And as you can hear, with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvin Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
Honestly, I don't even know what to tell you. I've been in bed basically the last 2 days. So I'm not great, honestly, but it's physically I feel like garbage. So, that affects your mental health in weird ways. I'm not depressed, but I'm just feeling kind of, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
See, I haven't even shaved my head in like 2 days, so maybe I'll let it go till Friday and see how long it gets.
Wild, man.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Right?
Maybe you'll get as long as mine.
I doubt that very much. You got the David Wallace flow going on right now. I could, if I let it grow in the back, except that there's not enough up here, so it'd be like really patchy here. I could grow the Friar Tuck and let it grow like mullet style and just comb it over.
Yeah. Today was a weird day because, like, when you have hair long like this, sometimes you wake up and it's all in one ball in a clump because you moved around in your sleep and you just sort of rubbed your head. And you're like trying to nap. And then there's other days you wake up and it's like, oh my God, I woke up with like soap opera or Harlequin romance novel hair today.
That's
So,
a different thing.
all I did this morning, seriously, is just put my hand in it like this and it just like landed like that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to roll with it. So try not to, and like for like the last 15 minutes, I've tried not to like move my head or shake my head, and it was really delicate when I put the earphones in because like this is working.
Yeah.
And of course, the kids demand glamour and fashion, so the Queen Beaver must provide.
Got to give it to them, right?
All right, kids and cubs in the news. Lots of little developments yesterday. Mr. Grizzly wasn't here for it, but I gave you my little theory on how I thought that Pierre Polyev might end up being rather screwed, actually.
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
Yeah, he's because there's multiple factions within the Canadian conservative movement, and there's about 3 or 4 of them that are taking different types of positions. And at some point, somebody's going to have to ask him if he agrees with their positions somewhere along the way. And he's not going to be able to avoid answers or go into hiding for Scaramucci between press conferences for a good long time, particularly if we happen to not have a spring federal election because Doug Ford goes first. Helpful sweat that he is.
Well, Pierre, because the House isn't sitting, he demands that the House go back right now so that he basically can get video clips to Rage Farm for money. Yeah. That's all it is. He doesn't have the House to sit there and get his video clips, so he's pissed.
But like he wants the House to come back now, allegedly, so that they can discuss the tariffs thing. But I thought you
they're already doing
the House
that.
to come back now so that you could take down the government. I'm a little confused, Pierre, what it is that you want. Because again, your side keeps on saying that we're leaderless and rudderless and therefore in a vulnerable position. But if you want to have an election right now, so like if Trump actually does follow through on February 1st, let's say he does, because he says a lot of things, we would actually be in an election if he did that, but which would make us, we would have a caretaker government and we would be fine, don't worry. But technically would make us more leaderless, technically, than you claim we are now. So that it's a very confusing position. That's why I'm saying, like, Operation Keep Pierre Talking is working.
Oh yeah, he just digs himself into a deeper hole every day.
So here he wants Parliament. He wants to take down the government, but he put out a letter yesterday. Quote: The Honorable Pierre Polyev, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada and the official opposition, released the following statement on the threat of tariffs from the U.S. So he did this on official letterhead.
Right.
from if you, Mr. Weasley, if you look it up it's probably under Dale Smith, the journalist. You'll find it
Just a
really easily,
second
or
here.
Pierre Poilievre's feed itself. It's not that far down on the list. Canada is facing a critical challenge. On February 1st, we are facing the risk of unjustified 25% tariffs by our largest trading partner that would have damaging consequences across our country. Our American counterparts say they want to stop the illegal flow of drugs and other criminal activity at our border. The Liberal government admits their weak border is a problem. That never happened.
No, it never happened.
The Liberal government never admitted our border was weak and
No.
never said it was a problem. They turned around and said, hey, you want us to do a couple of extra things at the border? Hey, Canada, is there a couple of things that you would need at the border? In particular, if he's going to deport like a whole bunch of people and we might need to help ourselves. Yeah, here's about $1.3 billion of things that we can do to protect ourselves from what he's going to unleash upon us that we can spin and market as, hey, we're doing something for you. Okay, great. That's not admitting you're weak at the border. That's taking advantage of an opportunity to do something for yourself and
Now
spin
we
it as
need
doing
to
it for someone else.
we need the codicil in there that this 1.3 billion is over 5 years. It's not just this year.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
important to understand, right? That's
Indeed. But
they are spending money on beefing up border security, which is good. However, it's over 5 years. It's not just this year, and it's important that we discuss that.
Now, in that text, I want you to pay attention to the specific sentence. Our American counterparts say they want to stop the illegal flow of drugs and other criminal activity at our border. The Liberal government admits their weak border is a problem. So if he's saying the liberal government admits weak border is a problem, that means the conservatives agree that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if the conservatives agree that it is and say we need to do more, they are validating the claims of the American counterparts that say that we need to stop the illegal flow of drugs and other criminal activity at our border, when it is their job to stop what comes over across their side of the border.
Well, case in point. Note
Yes.
to America's new president concerned about our border. This cocaine entered Canada from the United States. Historic cocaine bust in Ontario had ties to Mexican drug cartel, Toronto police say. Yeah.
So when do we start making
$83 million
demands?
worth of cocaine.
Yeah. So when do we start making demands?
Yeah.
Right. So he's validating it, which means if he becomes prime minister, he can't turn around and say, well, no, we've done everything. No, you just admitted.
Yeah. He just digs himself a hole each day, a new one. Because
But also, it is signifying, if you are going to say that the untrue things that the other guy is saying about us, to put it on the defensive, is true, and that our government is weak.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word for that again? What's that? That doesn't sound something that the leader of the loyal opposition would do. So I'm just saying that because Pierre's had many opportunities to state whether on what team he's on, and he keeps on trying to be cute about it. But if you're paying attention to the words, he's making it very clear on which team he's on, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
Keeps on going. That is why they announced a multi-billion-dollar border plan.
This
a plan
is
they cannot
interesting
fund.
here. I lost your feed there for a sec, sir. I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Police Chief Myron Demke told reporters at a news conference on Tuesday that 835 kilos of cocaine was confiscated, worth an estimated street value of $83 million. Cocaine is alleged to have the hallmarks of coming from the Jalisco New Generation cartel. We know that these drugs traveled all the way from Mexico over the United States southern border, then made their way here to Canada, where we stopped and seized them. But the border's weak, right?
I think that one is Jalisco, and the only reason I know that is because I
can't
think
hear
I've
you
been there.
anymore, sir.
Where's the soda?
I don't know what's going on.
There's the sodas, Jalisco, if you go to certain Mexican restaurants.
Jalisco? Did I say that incorrectly? Sorry.
Yeah.
I had pressed a button here that shut you down in my earpiece. Sorry about that. I didn't recognize it right away. I'm like, oh, my goodness, that's why I can't hear you.
Okay, so he continues. So the Liberal government admits their weak border is a problem. That is why they announced a multi-billion-dollar border plan, a plan they cannot fund because they shut down Parliament, preventing MPs and senators from authorizing the funds. Of course, he doesn't mention that Parliament has technically been shut down since the second week after it returned in September by his party's motion. Let's call back Parliament. Because with the prorogation, he's stopping things from going through. Let's call back the Parliament that only one thing got through since the second week of September because I wouldn't let it. Yeah, let's call that back right now. I'm sure the Liberals are really, really eager to get on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you remember what you did the last time we were in Parliament?
Yeah, you did everything you could to hold everything up.
Yeah. It's like, don't come and tell me, Felicia, that you are now worried about things not being able to be funded because Parliament has been shut down and that MPs and senators are prevented from authorizing funds because that's the shit you were doing before Parliament was shut down. That in itself would have been a reason to prorogue Parliament. That's what prorogation was designed for. The Prime Minister could have gone to the Governor General without election or anything. Just say, hey, we're at December something. Since September, we've passed one bill. I think we need some time to chill out. The Christopher Freeland thing didn't need to happen for the Prime Minister to have a reason to seek a prorogation at this time. Just make that clear. Yay, civics. Okay. Parliament was not functioning way before the Prime Minister decided to prorogue. So this is this guy pretending or hoping that none of the Canadians know what he's been up to since September, what he's been doing with their money and their time.
Everything to hold up Parliament.
Yeah. Quote, we also need retaliatory tariffs, something that requires urgent parliamentary consideration. And to that, Mr. Grizzly, if you look up at Christopher Freeland's Twitter feed, she has a very, very good answer for that. And I think she would know because she spent a certain amount of time very recently as our Minister of Finance.
Yes, she did, didn't she?
She might be a little bit aware, and she was there the first time when we also had retaliatory tariffs. So not only was she the Minister of Finance, and it's not like she was the Minister of Finance and she never had to use them. So how would she know? She was the Minister of Finance who used them against this very guy. So you'd think she would know. Mr. Grizzly, do you happen to have what she has to say about that?
I'm trying to find it.
Okay, no worries. So he continues. Yet Liberals have shut Parliament in the middle of this crisis. Canada has never been so weak.
Okay, I think I have.
Every accusation is a confession. He has never been so weak. Have you got it?
I think so. You tell me if this is it. I think this is it.
And then there's Pierre Poilievre. You know what the real problem with Pierre Poilievre is?
Where to begin? Oh, inside voice.
It's not that he's mean. We know that. It's not that he's a career politician. We know that. It's not that he doesn't have a plan. We know that too. The real problem with Pierre Poilievre, he is weak.
I'm sure that drives him nuts.
He's afraid to fight back against people he admires. Sure, he's happy to dunk on the liberals on Twitter, but he will never stand up to Donald Trump. He can't even stand up to Danielle Smith. Make no mistake, if Pierre Poilievre is elected, he will be on the first flight to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. He will bend down and sell us out.
I don't know if that was the exact quote, clip you were looking for, but I thought it was a good one anyway.
It's a good one. It's not that, but that's from her campaign launch, which we will talk about, and that was one of the better portions of it. So basically,
here where she's on, I don't know, it's CP24 breakfast television.
Yes, keep that one because we keep that one. We need that one. So basically, the short version was retaliatory tariffs do not require legislation. There's no actual need to recall Parliament. Pierre Poilievre posts this whole letter with, "We have an emergency. Reopen Parliament now to take back control and put Canada first." So goes on in the letter. Right? Yet Liberals have shut Parliament in the middle of this crisis. Canada has never been so weak, and things have never been so out of control. Liberals are putting themselves and their leadership politics ahead of the country. Well, they're making sure that when Canadians go into the next election, the person from the Liberal Party who is actually making the promises is the person that would still be the leader after the election to then fulfill the promises so that Canadians can know what they're voting for. Seem to have a problem. Well, I can understand why conservatives would have a problem with Canadians knowing what they're voting for, right? They keep on trying to go through an election without a platform or a debate. Oh, sorry. Was I being petty again? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he goes on, quote, "Common sense conservatives are calling for Trudeau to reopen Parliament now to pass new border controls, agree on trade retaliation, and prepare a plan to rescue Canada's weak economy. The Prime Minister has the power to ask the Governor General to cut short prorogation and get our Parliament working." Yes, in other words, the Prime Minister has the power to commit political suicide. Why doesn't he? It's so not fair.
Play into my hands, please.
Why will you just not surrender power if you don't have to? You just roll over and die. Literally what he's asking. Just give up, roll over, die, quit. This is not a serious person. Quote, and then of course he ends with, "Open Parliament, take back control, put Canada first." Dude, again, like Christopher Freeland just said, you can't even stand up to Danielle Smith. Number one, you've been asked at least 3 times on camera whether or not you agree putting oil on the table, and you've done that little fancy dance move saying, "Hey, we don't import a lot of U.S. oil and gas, so that wouldn't be it anyway." Now the question is, do you support export tariffs or flow restrictions, sir? Do you? And if you say yes, you do, then you are not on Team Danielle and all those UCP voters who like to wear red hats and make frequent small donations all run to the loving arms of Max Bernier, who are just waiting to say, "Come to me, my children." And if you say that you don't support putting oil on the table, well, then you're on Team Danielle, and then you too have to be asked certain questions. Maybe about why it is you won't get a security clearance.
Oh, and the documents are going to be released on the 28th of January now.
Yes. Well, she's going to deliver her report to the parliament. Okay, I'm not sure if that's the day they become public, but 28, so 3 days earlier than the deadline than the extended deadline that she asked for, and 28, that would be almost 2 full months before Parliament is supposed to resume. That was interesting.
Yeah, some sort of nasal thing.
So, and again, if Doug Ford decides to launch an early election, then every party's campaign staff that they need for the federal election is going to be very, very busy in an election in the biggest province with the greatest amount of seats. And I'm pretty sure, as was the case back with Jagmeet Singh and the NDP race in British Columbia, when he was threatening to have a take down the government and then decided not to. I'm pretty sure that everybody that works on the Ontario election would really like a little vacay before a very bitter federal election, particularly if summer's coming. So if Doug Ford does go ahead with that election, and we know that Doug Ford does not like Pierre Poilievre, Doug Ford just will have given Canada the way to actually have a later election and have Pierre talk more, especially or not be able to say anything against Trump.
Well,
for several weeks or months.
Isn't Pierre Poilievre trying to call this a carbon tax election? That's what he wants. Is a carbon election?
Yeah.
Poilievre ran in favor of carbon taxes multiple times in his career. The record of all of the Conservative leadership candidates on carbon taxes is not as clear as they would have you believe. Published by Brian Lilly, of all people, May 16th, 2022.
Ooh.
Yeah. 3 years ago, Brian Lilly telling the truth for once.
Oh, no, they were all for it before they were against. It was their idea.
Yeah, of course.
So, Pierre wants Parliament to come back. Now, there's another person that we haven't talked about a lot lately, but is still important, and his name is Jagmeet Singh, and he made a move the other day as well, released a letter and asked for something. And when that came out, a lot of people had the impression that he was laying the groundwork for being able to say that, well, I know I said that I would take down the government at the first available opportunity, but, well, things have changed. So it seems that he's gone on the news recently, and it may have tried to reassert that, yes, no matter what, he is taking him down. But before he did that, he wrote this little letter to the Prime Minister, and he posted it to Twitter with, Trump's tariff threats will cost jobs and will drive up prices. So Kevin O'Leary, who only speaks for himself, is negotiating to get rid of the Canadian passport. Poilievre and the Conservatives refuse to act because they'll give billionaires like Trump and Musk whatever they want. And little irony here, but remember when they lost their minds because Terry Fox, the image of Terry Fox, was taken out of the passport, and if Kevin O'Leary is, let's just get rid of the passport altogether. And they're not throwing themselves on the pyre for this one, are they?
No, funny how that works, huh?
Terry Fox out of the passport. Oh my God, you're erasing all of Canadian history. This is erasure. How about let's get rid of the Canadian passport altogether? Yeah, sure. These people. God, I understand what makes Pete laugh so much. I think I'm starting to get it. I think I'm starting to get it. Yeah. Okay. So premiers are contradicting each other. Unions and industry are on their own. I've written to the Prime Minister, we need a coordinated, united fight back, not a sloppy everyone for themselves patchwork. And this was on January 15th. So I think that was soon after the meeting. I have to look at the dates on that. But he writes, Dear Prime Minister, I'm writing with regard to the extraordinary situation with which Canada will be confronted in short order. Canadians from all walks of life are deeply troubled by incoming U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to enact tariffs on Canadian products immediately upon assuming office. These tariffs would increase prices and cost jobs on both sides of the border. Canadians are already struggling with a high cost of living. We cannot afford to sit back and watch events unfold. Canadians expect the government to take a proactive approach that brings Canada together to fight this assault in a coordinated way. In recent days, we have seen premiers send contradictory messages to the incoming administration about possible actions to be taken in response to tariffs. And we have seen businessman Kevin O'Leary, who does not speak for Canada or for Canadian businesses, attempt to negotiate directly with President-elect Trump on matters including Canadian passports. In the absence of a coordinated approach, these one-offs will continue, and they could have a lasting impact on our ability to respond to U.S. threats. Now, what Mr. Singh here is somehow suggesting is that Justin Trudeau or any Prime Minister of Canada somehow has the magical power to prevent anybody who's rogue from doing as a rogue person would do.
Mm-hmm.
And if all we had was a coordinated, united fight back Team Canada rather than a sloppy everyone for themselves patchwork, inherent in everyone for themselves means that everyone's acting on their own and doesn't want to be coordinated by some central force with some magical power to bring them together. Just words have meanings. So right?
Here's the I got to
He's
show
in
you.
some la la land here.
Look, this is from Theo Dacus.
Yes.
If this were Team Canada 72 series, Team Canada jersey, Trudeau, Ford, Legault, Houston, Holt, Canoe, Eby, Fury, Moe, King, Simpson, Pillen, Ekigok. And in the CCCP, or Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, the USSR, Daniel Smith. The irony is it's true. It's true.
It's very true. It's very true. Mr. Singh continues, we cannot continue with this everybody for themselves approach. I understand that you have convened an in-person meeting with Canada's Premier, so this was before that. Okay. This is a positive step. It is within this spirit that I'm formally requesting that this table be expanded on an ongoing basis. Canada's Premiers, the leaders of all federal parties represented in Parliament, Indigenous organizations, labor unions, and industrial and business leaders need to be brought together immediately to chart a united response to Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, while this is a good idea, right? This is being done.
Yes.
It's just not everybody at one big table. Because unfortunately, sometimes when situations like this arrive, you need to have a certain limited number of people at the table because there's just way too much crosstalk.
Mm-hmm.
Too many chefs. But these people are responsible for going to get all that information from all these people who should be at the table and bringing it to the table. These decisions should not be made in a vacuum. But this is like, he wants this like big performative, big conference type thing. Like this, that will create media opportunities for him because basically he wants to be at the table and he's saying, he's wrapping it around and, you know, all these other people need to be invited to the table, which I truly believe he might sincerely believe.
Well,
yes, but I cannot believe that he believes at this moment that bringing all these people around one table at one time, rather than just like strategically going in for quick, rapid response, is going to be the most effective thing to do. Just logistically.
For all the folks who keep calling Trudeau a communist dictator, which is not a thing, you can be one or the other. You can't be both at the same time, number one. And number two, if he is a dictator that you believe he is, how is Kevin O'Leary not behind bars? Right? And then you have idiots like Joe Rogan who say there's no such thing as free speech in Canada. I'm like, Kevin O'Leary is trying to negotiate on behalf of Canada when he has no position to do so. He's not been charged. He's not been arrested. He's not been censured. He's not been silenced. We have more free expression in this country than they do in the USA, and the USA is really robbing people of their rights minute by minute. right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for those people who say Trudeau's a dictator, take a look at the mirror and ask yourself if you can drive across the country screaming, "We want freedom," and then camp out on my street for 3 weeks and not go to prison for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have no freedom, but you drove across the country. You have no freedom, but you flew down to Florida to talk to the president-elect before he was sworn in about negotiating becoming the 51st state, when you have no power to do that. And you are free.
And no authority.
No power, no authority,
And
no
mandate.
nothing. He's just a self-centered narcissist who wants to speak on behalf of Canada. But guess what, Kevin O'Leary? Shut your pie hole. You're an ignoramus. You're an ignoramus who got lucky and screwed over a lot of people to get rich, like most rich people do. Not all, the vast majority. But we're in a dictatorship, right? Jesus, people are stupid.
I know. Mr. Singh continues. Next month, a joint mission of Canada's premiers will visit Washington, D.C. to meet with members of the new American administration, and Canadian business and labor leaders engage on a daily basis with their U.S. counterparts on matters of mutual interest and concern. Bringing all these voices together to one common table will better coordinate these efforts and will help forge the all-hands-on-deck approach that this moment demands. It is unfortunate that within this and here's a useless sentence. It's unfortunate that within this context you have chosen to prorogue Parliament. Again, you too, sir, Mr. Singh, have done nothing.
Yes.
You are equally complicit. This coming from you is as rich as a Doug Fork cherry cheesecake. Okay? It is unfortunate that within this context you have chosen to prorogue Parliament. All parties standing united against Donald Trump in the House of Commons could have sent a powerful signal against his belligerence, and House of Commons committees could have been an avenue to forge a concerted approach. The House of Commons committees are not working. And you just said at the first available opportunity you would present a motion to take down the government. So that you would vote for one to take down the government. So again, why are you saying it's too bad Parliament was prorogued? We could have been discussing this issue. No, because before Parliament was prorogued, you were talking about the first best possible opportunity to take this government down. And you knew back then that Trump was coming, and you knew back then that Trump would probably impose tariffs.
Yeah. This is not.
What is this thing of going back now? Oh my God, it's such a shame you prorogued Parliament. We could have been discussing this stuff when you weren't interested in discussing anything while Parliament was. That's like, ring, ring, hello. Oh, baby, I miss you so much. I should have held your hand and brought you to all those dances and like this. It's like, well, you didn't. Like, I mean, what is this with this guy?
I don't know.
You had a sweet deal. You had the ear of the government with the confidence and supply agreement. You threw it away. Then you had Parliament. And you decided to throw away your power by working with the Conservatives to block everything. And now you sit back after throwing away your supply and confidence deal and throwing away being able to work in Parliament, or at least just overriding the Conservatives to let one bill or a few bills pass through that would matter to you. You come back and you say, oh my God, and you want to shut down. You're afraid that what do you think an election does, buddy? It shuts down Parliament. It prorogues Parliament. So, I mean, it's like, but now you want it open, and you wanted it open all along.
He just wants
so that you could have helped us prepare, brought all these voices to the table. All that time that you were writing these letters and going to TV and performing and saying that the prime minister had to go and that you were taking him down, that's time you could have been organizing this table. Because you knew the tariffs were coming. These people.
Yeah. Look, it's flip-flop, 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 flip-flop. That's all it is.
He concludes, nonetheless, I do believe that there is an opportunity in the days ahead to bring people together and to begin this vital work. In the face of these extraordinary circumstances, I have been heartened to see Canadians from all walks of life standing up for Canada, expressing a view that our shared values, our institutions, and our independence will not be compromised. This groundswell of unity and support needs to be reflected at the highest level. And therefore, if you do recall Parliament, I will not vote non-confidence in your government so that Parliament can operate and do this thing that I'm writing this letter to ask you to do? Is that what you're implying there, Mr. Singh? Are you laying the groundwork for should things get worse between now and March 24th? That you have your exit? Well, I still think that this government sold you out and let you down, and I still think that but the prime minister is gone, and well, this is time to pull together. And Doug Fort's going
Wishy-washy,
to call an election in
flip-floppy.
Ontario, and I don't really have the staff, and I don't. But yeah, but all of a sudden, you're going to see Jagmeet Singh suddenly rally to Team Canada.
Mm-hmm. Pierre rallies only for Pierre.
Once we reach double overtime, he laces up his skates. Oh, you guys made it to double overtime. I guess you might have a chance to win. Okay, I guess I'll come on the ice and maybe,
help you out.
Do a shift or two.
Yeah. Let me get
really?
involved
Thanks.
for a few minutes if I can here, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Oh,
Hey guys, I'm wide open. I'm wide open.
We were still lost without you, right? We're in double overtime and we're tied. We weren't figuring it out without you.
He scores the goal with 1 second left on the clock and double overtime and goes, I did it. I saved the day. I saved the day. You came off the bench at the last minute, dude. Where were you the rest of the game?
It's just these people. So Pierre wants carbon tax election. A couple of other things happened yesterday over the past few days. Mark Carney got the endorsement of Melanie Joly.
Yes, I saw that.
Who's extremely well organized in Quebec. And there's no Liberal representative from Quebec this time around.
Yes.
He also got the support of 3 other people, I believe. Patty Haidu, Minister of Indigenous Services, Gary Anandathasagari, the Minister of Crown, Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs, and Stephen Guilbeault.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Minister of the Environment. Now, Mark Carney is on the record as saying that he's not for carbon pricing. So Stephen Guilbeault, the Minister of Environment, is supporting Mark Carney. Well, wait a minute. How is that possible? What's going on here? I mean, he's so dyed in the wool and wedded to it to listen to the right. According to the CBC's David Thurton.
It's a little confusing to say the least. At least I'm confused. But I get confused easily because I'm old.
Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault said he is open to replacing the carbon tax he has long defended if Liberal leadership candidates propose new measures to help Canada achieve its climate targets. Guilbeault, a staunch advocate of consumer carbon pricing, did not call for an end to the controversial measure. However, he told reporters on Mondays that he has been discussing alternatives with candidates in his party's leadership race if they decide to abandon it. Quote, our plan to fight climate change is much broader than just one measure, Guilbeault said. There are about 100 different measures we have deployed to fight climate change in Canada. The consumer carbon pricing element is an important element, but it's not the only one. Guilbeault noted that industrial carbon pricing in Canada achieves 3 times the emission reductions of consumer carbon pricing. I'm talking to all of the candidates to say, okay, if we're not moving ahead with this particular element, what is it you will put in place to ensure Canada continue to fight the climate change and to make sure we can reach our 2030 targets? So Guilbeault is basically saying, listen, I really like this method, and there's really not much not to like about this method because it is literally the least expensive with the greatest return and the less bureaucracy. Conservatives should be loving it. But let's say we're going to go forward without a consumer-based carbon fee.
So it's just for industry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say they take on our share, then it gets rolled into the prices and we're paying it anyway, right? So Stephen Guilbeault is like, listen, I'm pretty agnostic as to how you get there.
As long as you get there.
but we got targets that need to be reached. And if what you're proposing meets those targets, I'm good. So with Trudeau out of the way, and Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland saying that they're not going to support a carbon tax, and now even the Minister of Carbon Tax saying, yeah. Again, no Trudeau, no carbon tax. There's no more obstacles in the way.
Mm-hmm.
He is not getting a carbon tax election.
No, because the next prime minister, whether it's Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney, won't support a carbon tax. So
There's going to be
consumer carbon
nobody.
tax.
There's going to be nobody in the election speaking about a carbon tax except him.
And he'll keep screaming about it while we'll keep pointing out. But you understand the new folks coming in are going to admonish the consumer version. It'll just be on industry.
With the exception of Karina Gould, who in her campaign said that she would stop the next increase. So she might freeze it at where it's at, but maintain, which is another plank.
Yes.
Because we are achieving a certain reduction as a result of it.
Well, and
let's maintain what we have and then do other things on top of that. That is another
rebate, right?
Yeah. Or at least if she was saying, like, until we have those other methods devised, that they've taken place and we can assess them and see how much and it's an equivalent, we'll keep this one. And then when we're determined that it's equivalent, then we'll remove it. That's another way you can go, right? You can do stages and steps. So, but she's differentiating herself on that front. Then, according to the article, Guilbeault reflected a bit more on his comments the following day. My statement to many of you yesterday was a difficult one, Guilbeault said on Tuesday. I continue to believe that the consumer price on pollution is one of the best tools we have to fight climate change. Several candidates in the Liberal leadership race are distancing themselves from the carbon tax. Chrystia Freeland confirmed on Sunday that she'll ditch the policy. As I mentioned, Ontario MP Karina Gould committed to pausing a scheduled increase in April, but would not repeal the policy that has been the target of Conservatives. Although Mark Carney did not specifically say what he would do, the former Bank of Canada governor said he would present a plan launching his campaign last week. Carney said he'd want a carbon tax replacement that is at least, if not more effective. And I believe he said that might be coming Thursday of this week, if I remember correctly, in his launch. And Guilbeault announced Tuesday that he is endorsing Carney in the leadership race. Now, Guilbeault says removing the consumer carbon tax is not without risks. While it is a climate policy, it is also an income source for low and middle income Canadians. In addition to paying the carbon levy on fuel and home heating, many consumers in the prairies, Ontario, and Atlantic Canada receive a quarterly federal rebate that has been branded as the Canada Carbon Rebate. Quote, the beauty of the consumer carbon pricing is that it was both an environmental measure and as well a social measure, Guilbeault said Tuesday. Despite the lies that Pierre Poilievre has been telling Canadians, more Canadians get more money back from carbon pricing than what they pay. Since becoming Conservative leader, Poilievre has campaigned on axing the carbon tax and has called for the next election to be fought on the issue, even though we fought 3 elections on the issue already. And they lost. Guilbeault said he will work with Carney to ensure the country
lost each time, by the way.
Yes. But let's just keep on having a carbon tax election until we win one.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of the reason why we win the election, if it has nothing to do with carbon tax, like just for leader fatigue, we'll just claim we won the carbon tax election, say it's a mandate and run with it.
Well, I mean...
Guilbeault said he will work with Carney to ensure the country will still have a climate policy that helps Canadians with affordability, but will help us achieve our 2030 targets. And then people are going, well, can we achieve our climate goals without a carbon tax? Analysis from the federal government and independent research shows the consumer carbon price is a small player relative to other climate policies. Industrial carbon pricing, the oil and gas emissions cap, and methane regulations play a more significant influence on achieving Canada's climate targets, according to the policy research organization, the Canadian Climate Institute. There's actually a complete mismatch between the amount of oxygen that the debate surrounding the consumer carbon price sucks out of the room and its actual importance when it comes to making a dent with the greenhouse gas emissions, says the Institute's president, Rick Smith. And Mr. Grizzly, I'm going to send you a copy of the article because there's an interesting graphic contained in it that the kits who are viewing might get a lot from over here.
Okay.
So there you go. Just sent it to you. And in the graph, it shows various groups. So large emitter trading systems, oil and gas emission caps, methane regulations, fuel charges, waste methane capture, clean fuel regulations, investment tax credits, and zero emission vehicle standards. So they're looking for that And then you have
What is
how much,
this
what
guy?
the range of potential emissions is.
Axe the tax,
Pardon?
and this guy here with a hockey stick has a sign that says treason is the reason. What is he
Yeah.
talking about?
Who
Like
knows?
seriously, what is he talking about? What treason? What are you talking about?
Who knows?
Like,
I know.
you say there's a graphic in here somewhere? I'm just gonna
Yeah,
scroll. Oh, there
right
it is.
there.
I might
So
have to
there you
shrink
can
it.
see all the things. So all the various so large emitter trading systems. That you can see how much it counts for. An oil and
Mhm.
gas emissions cap, how much it counts for methane regulations. And as you get further down, right?
Mhm.
So its analysis shows that the carbon tax accounts for between 8 and 9% of the emissions reductions in 2030. Right. So it's not negligible,
Mhm.
and you can't just lose that. That's why you have to have something in between, or some type of transition, or have to boost another program to compensate for that, so that you don't lose those emissions. But it is possible to switch out or something. Now, everything that we are going to switch out to do will be more expensive and less effective. So we'll have to do more of it to get the same results.
Mhm.
So that's the thing. They're saying, you're paying too much. We're still going to have to pay for it. We're going to have to pay more.
So, what's going to happen to Pierre Poilievre when he realizes the next federal election, whenever that may be, will not be a carbon tax election?
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to run on?
I
He's
know.
got nothing to run on now.
Yeah. I shouldn't say it's less effective, because but for example, when it says large emitter trading systems are industrial carbon pricing amount for much more reductions, 23 and 39% of the avoided emissions versus 8 and 9. But of course, I mean, large emitters
Yeah.
produce a lot. They're called large emitters for a reason. So yeah,
Correct.
they got to cover they got to cover the gap in the emissions reduction plan if they remove it. So Bill is just basically saying, if they're able to find a way to do that, he'll be okay. Quote, he continues. What they're talking about? Some person named Smith here, and I lost who they're talking about. Oh, okay. The Canadian Climate Institute president Rick Smith also says it's important that we not let other governments off the hook. There are things that need to happen at other levels of government across the country. Guilbeault didn't speak about the role that other jurisdictions need to play, but he pointed to federal climate policies like industrial carbon pricing and the yet to be implemented cap on oil and gas emissions. Quote, one obvious answer if we don't move ahead with consumer carbon pricing would be to tighten the system that we already have for large polluters in the country, which of course will make Danielle Smith go crazy. Quote,
Mhm.
there are other things that we are working on deploying. A cap on pollution from the oil and gas sector will be a key component of our tools to ensure that every sector of the Canadian economy does its fair share when it comes to reducing pollution. So the table is set.
So here's something for you. Another shot across the bow at Pierre Poilievre and his bullshit. He said the GST holiday would make inflation worse.
Yes.
Canada's inflation rate ticks down to 1.8% with help from GST holiday.
Well, not only that,
He's just wrong all the time. All the time he's wrong. How can anybody support this man? He never gets anything right.
well, here's another thing with regard to the GST holiday. It's just a gimmick. It won't work. It won't make much of a difference. CTV News, January 17th. Restaurants want GST holiday to be permanent, even if some didn't see benefits. Members of the restaurant industry are calling on the federal government to make the GST holiday permanent, even though some businesses have yet to see much impact from the tax break. Some business owners say the tax break on restaurant meals stretching from December 14th to February 15th has been a big enough hit that it's worth extending for good. Quote, people are just freaking loving it. Like we hear about it every day. It's just crazy, said Bill Pratt, the chief executive of Chef-inspired group of restaurants, which owns Habaneros, Modern Taco Bar, Cheese Curds, and Studio East Asian Gastropub in Nova Scotia. Quote, there's always going to be naysayers, but I'm on the other side of the fence going, come on, let's run it even further. Let's keep it going. That view is cropping up in corners of the industry as some restaurants crunch holiday numbers and discover they experienced an uptick in sales and visits since the tax break period began in the lead up to Christmas. Exactly what the policy intended. Go
Mhm.
figure. Survey data from industry group Restaurants Canada released Friday shows there was a modest increase in how often Canadians dined out at restaurants in December compared with December 2023. Reservations platform OpenTable similarly saw the number of online bookings at Canadian restaurants between December 14th and 27th increase 18% from the same period year ago. 18% increase in
Yeah.
bookings. Kelly Higginson,
That's a
Restaurants
big
Canada
jump.
president and CEO, said the start of the GST relief period was, quote, status quo. But then I think people started to see their bills and thought, oh, stopping for that snack isn't as much, or I'm going out for dinner and I'm going to order just that little bit of a better bottle of wine because there isn't that 13% added on at the end of the meal. Customers weren't just spending more, but also showing more willingness to dine out more often. Pratt said he's noticed more patrons on weeknights. Quote, on a Wednesday night, we didn't have that many people last year. Higginson expects such behavior to last throughout January and into February, months that are known for being slow for the industry, but fears what will happen when the GST breaks after Valentine's Day. That's part of why she said her organization recently started having discussions with policymakers about keeping the tax break around. The tax break, which also applied to purchases of some groceries, toys, and children's apparel, was framed by the federal government as a way to help ease the high costs Canadians have grappled with. Arturo Anhalt, the founder and chef of Milagro Cantina in Toronto, said he wouldn't mind the tax holiday being made permanent because he's in favor of anything that helps the restaurant industry. Quote, these are stressful times for people, he said, noting business margins and the cost of labor have created tremendous pressures for restaurants following COVID-19. Yet the tax holiday didn't bring any dramatic change to his Mexican restaurant.
You know,
At the beginning, we were letting our guests know they're not going to pay GST and thinking that it was going to have some sort of effect, but people don't really seem to care, he said. In fact, he thought his January so far was slower than last, an observation Stacy's Island Flavor Restaurant and the caterers in Toronto also had. So, not everybody, but some people are getting it, and the people who are not getting it, like they're saying here, owner Stacy Porter, it was a good idea to see if we would get more business or customers would spend more. But maybe later on this month, we'll see more people coming in. So they're still willing to give it some time.
I think that personally, I thought that the GST thing was, the break was not good for, not for good for a lot of reasons. Okay. And I'm going to stand by that. However, in this instance, if it helps businesses, especially the restaurant industry, which has been suffering for the last few years since COVID, I think this would be a good idea. Make it a permanent thing for restaurants and bars. Keep it everywhere else, but for restaurants and bars, because I mean, damn, that industry's taken a terrible hit in the last few years.
Yeah, that could be one way. You put it back on all the other products to leave it there. The other way could be is that you make it permanent every year from December to February for that period. You know,
I'd like it year-round.
It could be another way. Pardon?
I'd like it to be year-round in bars and restaurants.
Yes, it would be, but like you could say again, if we're talking about keeping our fiscal powder dry, that's another way you can do that. So, okay, well, you liked it so much, let's try it for a couple of years at this period, and then we can see. That could be another way.
There's an experiment, that you could. There's an experiment. Who knows?
But there seems to be some value.
Yes.
In it, which is really cool. Now, Mr. Grizzly, let's see what else we got here. Okay, yes. So, getting to the liberal leadership bit. One little last thing about Danielle, though, before we do that. I read two editorials yesterday into the record written by Rick Bell 2 days apart, having to do with Danielle Smith, because it seems that Danielle Smith may have celebrated too early when Trump hadn't mentioned tariffs at all on Inauguration Day, and she ran to Rick Bell and basically claimed, I think what happened, I can't be sure, but claimed, I did it. I saved us. And then around p.m. or something, some journalist asked him as he was signing executive orders, what about it? And then he said, oh, that's still on. Might do that February 1st. Now, there's a reason why Danielle may have thought that she did. It wouldn't have been everybody else, by the way. Wouldn't have been all the premiers and the prime minister making it clear that there would be all these. It was just her going for selfies and pleading, "Don't touch my gas." Did it? Okay. This is the narrative we're supposed to believe. She's a master spinmeister, man.
Yeah.
So this is the narrative we're supposed to believe. But from Davis Legree at iPolitics, after U.S. President Donald Trump's inauguration came and went without the promised 25% blanket tariff on Canadian goods, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's position remains consistent. Canada is prepared and ready to respond, which is the right position. While Trump had initially vowed to levy tariffs on Canada immediately after taking office, he signed an executive order on Monday. So he did sign an executive order that would examine illegal migration and fentanyl trafficking over the Canada-US border and produce a report that would recommend appropriate trade and national security measures to resolve that emergency. And that report is due by April. Now, given the number of executive orders he signed, all of these were written and decided on way before Danielle Smith ran to Mar-a-Lago for a selfie. So until she intervened, the situation was going to be, that thing about 25% tariffs I said I was going to happen? Well, and I was going to do that on day one.
I'm going to wait.
You've done some border stuff and you talk to your people and stuff like that. So instead, we're going to study this more closely. All right, we're going to study this. We're going to look at this. But the report's going to do in April. But watch out. Maybe in April will come. I'm going to keep you. It's coming. You don't exactly know when. That little sadistic thing he does.
Right.
Keep you on your toes and keep you worried and stressed and worried and talking about it for the next 3 months and talking about him, what he might do and what he might not do. But before she did all that stuff that she did, what was written down on paper is that they would strike a committee, they would look at it, study it, and come back to us sometime in April. And then by 8:30 p.m. that night in front of the camera, I might do that by February 1st as he's signing something. Well, maybe not as he's signing after or as he's about to or just after. I don't know what order he signed them. Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you saw this. I have a clip of our friend Flavio Volpe. This is really good. Watch this. I think you'll enjoy this as much as I did.
Yeah, I got that, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We good? Steve, you forced me to stand here. Why don't you ask me a question?
Okay, what do we do?
What do we do? Well, what we don't do is panic. What we do is lean on the lessons that we learned in 1.0, which is there was an executive order yesterday. If you read it, he's instructed his Secretary of Commerce to come back with reports, probably the same as last time, Trade Expansion Act, Section 232. We'll hear soon enough. What we don't do is always react when he has a little bit of a press availability. He says, probably, maybe February 1st. He's instructed his government April 1st. And we know the process there. We know what those investigations look like and what statistics they're going to collect. And if it's across the Canadian industry, I think it's incumbent on us to try to mimic that process and figure out what's going to be presented to him. So at the very least, we know the math and science that he has available to him. The art, well, the art is a little bit of a dance, and he's a pretty good dancer, and we'll figure out who amongst us can keep up.
Have you seen any?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love how he starts it off. Don't panic. Don't panic.
Yeah. So again, you can't react to everything.
No, you need that calming presence in the room. Hey, let's just chill. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what we can do. Panic is the worst thing you can do because that just raises everybody's anxiety. So you need to bring the temperature of the room down and speak in soft, dulcet tones so that everybody relaxes. And then we can address the problem head on. Work the problem.
Yes. So, and all that, like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do that. Now we got to do this. The opening paragraph of this. After U.S. President Donald Trump's inauguration came and went without the promised 25% blanket tariff on Canadian goods, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's position remains consistent.
That's what you need. Steady hand.
You pick the position that allows you to be consistent the longest. And the longest is you say stuff, we hear you,
Mm-hmm.
we prepare stuff and contingencies, but we do not react until you say this is the stuff what's actually going to go down. The only comment before that is, okay, we heard that. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, if Donald Trump did that the first time and somebody went, like, Donald Trump says it, yeah, we heard that. What do you think? I said, well, we heard that. You know, this is what he's thinking at the moment. When he actually makes a decision, we'll have a reaction.
Until then, chillax.
We hear what he says. It would be so different right now. It would be so different. So it seems that Danielle, knowing, I guess, maybe getting a tip of what the wording of the executive order was going to be or whatnot, ran and said, we did it. I did it. I saved us. Yeah. And then Donald Trump said that. And then you got like Rick Bell, writing the next one. It's like, Donald Trump's U-turn hurts Alberta and hurts us. And it's like, and it's all Justin Trudeau's fault somehow. It's like,
yeah.
And nobody was screaming mission accomplished. And like, yeah, you were. It's like, there's a little paragraph in that first article that says something like there will be no tariffs or something. Like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You were celebrating. And then you had to, again, say, journalism as a partisan hack and the era of Trump, the switches on a dime, will give a lot of columnists that are really just fanboys or fangirls for a certain person a lot of whiplash. They will have difficulty explaining their all-in support day after day as things keep changing. So yeah, on that was the last little thing on the tariffs. Now, moving over to the Liberal leadership race, kits and cubs. We're gonna have to do this over a couple of days because there's a lot with Gould and Freeland.
There's a ton to cover.
Yeah. However, I just want to give you a little bit of process nerd stuff from Katie O'Malley that you should probably know, because these are important dates here that you need to know for what's going to come. Now, I was wondering if the $350,000 had to be paid all at once or in installments. It does seem like it's going to be in installments, and the first $50,000, which is refundable, is due on January 23rd, which is tomorrow.
So what's the refund? How's the refund part work? If you decide to bow out, you get your money back. Is that
before the next deposit? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you realize you can raise the first 50,000, but you can't raise the next amount to meet the next threshold in that time, they will refund you the first one. So that gives more time to people to see if they can raise the money and throw their name in. So January 23rd is the deadline for potential candidates to formally declare their interest in entering the leadership contest by submitting an official nomination form, which, according to party protocols, must be co-signed by at least 300 registered Liberals, with at least 100 from 3 different provinces and territories. They have to agree to the basic ground rules, which, among other provisions, requires them to refrain from public criticism of the voting process, as well as support the eventual winner, and then the first down payment of $50,000. January 27th, so just 4 days later, anyone with a hankering to vote on the next party leader must be duly registered as a Liberal as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As per the standard parliamentary calendar, this was also the deadline on which the House of Commons was originally scheduled to reopen for business, which was preempted by the prorogation. So again, if you want to vote, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, January 27th, that's your deadline to register. January 30th, so 1 week after the first deposit, the second 50,000 installment is due, and this time it's not refundable either.
Okay.
Right.
So once you've once you hit the second, that's it. So
by January 30th, if you're in, you're in, and if you can't raise the rest of the money, then you get disqualified.
And you don't get your
money
that
back.
money.
Yep. You're out 100,000. February 2nd, while not an official deadline, this is likely the deadline for prospective candidates to get the green light to join the race. So basically, the party will let them know that they're approved by February 2nd as a candidate, because they still have to do checks and make sure that everybody that signed those 300 signatures are actually real people, that kind of stuff. So while under the special accelerated leadership rules established earlier this month after receiving an application from a prospective candidate, the designated reviewers, the party president, national director, leadership vote committee co-chairs, and the party's chief electoral officer will have up to 10 days to approve their entry into the race, or alternately reject if the potential contestant has either failed to satisfy the mandatory criteria in the party bylaws or has demonstrated, in the view of the reviewers, in their sole and unfettered discretion, manifest unfitness for the office of the leader of the party. Working backwards from the January 23rd deadline to submit the paperwork, the deadline for those rulings to be made, assuming that is that at least one candidate waited until the very last day to hand in their nominated package, would be February 2nd. On February 7th, the first of two non-refundable $125,000 installment payments must be made in order for a candidate to remain in the race. So $50,000 by the 23rd, $50,000 1 week later on the 30th, and then 1 week after that on February 7th, or a little more than a week, $125,000. Okay. February 10th, another internal deadline, this time for the party to post the registration procedures for the vote itself, which must be published on the party website at least 27 days before the vote, and will outline how the vote itself will take place, which could include online voting as well as voting by phone, mail-in ballots, and at in-person polling stations, as well as the accompanying requirements to verify ID and eligibility. So basically, all the rules for people to be able to vote will be published and known by the 10th. February 17th, this is the due date for the final non-refundable $125,000 installment. So that's 10 days after the previous one. March 9th, the results of the leadership vote will be announced, and that, as it turns out, is where this timeline starts to veer into the realm of well-reasoned speculation. So again, Katie O'Malley lets you know what she knows as fact and what is now speculation, but well-reasoned speculation. Barring some sort of mission-critical glitch during the count, we can be fairly sure that we'll know who won the race by the end of the night, but it's not yet clear how quickly they will formally be sworn in. It could be the next day, although that seems unlikely as they'd presumably need a couple of days to finalize their cabinet picks, or it could be pushed until the following week or even longer. So on March 9th, when we get a new Liberal leader, we may not get another new prime minister for yet another week, because they need time to organize all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's also, if you hear the conservatives keep on saying he's trying to hold on to power, dictator, like
no, there's a process.
Preparing their cabinet and writing their throne speech and that type of stuff.
So what's the name of the lawyer who is pushing to have the prorogation of Parliament deemed unconstitutional?
Oh, that I don't know the name, but yeah, that's not going to go anywhere.
Well, here's the thing, though. He says he wished he had done it the 4 times that Stephen Harper prorogued Parliament, because he said it was unconstitutional, and he didn't have the strength or temerity at the time to do it. So he's pursuing it now. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere or not. It's interesting, though. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and you might have a good, valid point. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know the law well enough to say yes or no about this, but I think that, and I've talked to conservative friends about this, and I said, you got to understand, though, the reason the prorogue Parliament right now is important, because if they have a non-confidence vote, we have to have an election just after Trump got in. Is that really a good thing? Mm-hmm. He's stepping down because he knows that he's done. He won't. The party will be defeated with him as leader. So if he steps down, they bring in a new leader, and then an election could be called in a few months after that. It wouldn't be called immediately, because would you have a non-confidence vote right away? If you did, then the fix was in. It was decided before anybody ever took power. But proroguing Parliament at this time, I actually thought was a good call. And I suggested it to a few different people before he did it. It was right around Christmas. I said, before Christmas, I said, I think he should prorogue, and here's why. With Trump about to get sworn in on the 20th of January, threatening 25% tariffs, we don't know what's going to happen. So if they have a non-confidence vote at the beginning of January, then we have to have a federal election right when there's a new president being elected or being sworn in, one who is well, for want of a better term, out of his fucking mind? Do we really want to have a federal election and elect a new leader during that time period? And with the hatred that a certain percentage of the population has for Justin Trudeau because, I don't know, they don't like his hair or his socks or whatever the case may be, they can't actually give you a justifiable, certifiable reason as to why he's harmed the country, because he hasn't. He's done good by the country. And globally, he's one of the most respected leaders in the world right now. But don't tell them that, because they refuse to believe it.
Right.
But having an election now, a federal election now, would be terrible for our country. Terrible. Which is why, again, I don't like proroguing Parliament. I don't. I disagree with it. But in this instance, I think it was the right move. And it's because of we are in a really perilous position. Somebody says, well, there's no time to really have it. I go, yeah, but you're right. There's no good time, but there is a bad time. And this would be a bad time to have a federal election. Maybe there's no good time, but this is a really bad time to have a federal election, because if we have it now, the country's in flux. We've got a lunatic to the south who has just basically eliminated the Constitution. It's not on the White House website anymore. They pulled it. Yes, they pulled the US Constitution from the White House website. They also killed all the Spanish language pages on the White House website. Welcome to Gilead, friends. I'm telling you, he started with trans. Next, he started with gender. Next is same-sex marriage. That's coming next. Then it will be contraception. I'm telling you, this is the tip of the iceberg. Project 2025 is in full swing, and they're going to see to it that it happens. The United States of America is finished as a nation. Its democracy is dead. It is finished. Unless they have a military coup, the country's done. And you think I'm being alarmist or hyperbolic? I'm not. I'm telling you what is going to happen. The Constitution is no longer on the White House website.
Jeez.
Which means it's going to piss off a lot of those Second Amendment folks, right?
Right. So what you were talking about, the prorogation there, there was a ruling late Saturday. Federal Court Chief Justice Paul Crampton said the court's usual rules on timelines will not apply, setting the stage for a hearing, an expedited hearing on February 13th and 14th. Now, the two people in their application, they're named David McKinnon and Aris Lavranos. They're Nova Scotia residents. They filed an application on January 8th, seeking an order to set aside Trudeau's decision to advise Governor General Mary Simon to exercise her power to prorogue Parliament until March 24th. They asked the court to expedite the hearing, citing urgency due to the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threat to impose steep tariffs on goods from Canada. They argued Trudeau's decision effectively denies Parliament without reasonable justification the ability to carry out its constitutional functions as a legislature. In particular, the application said prorogation prevents Parliament from dealing quickly and decisively with especially pressing issues, including the effects of Trump's threatened tariffs. However, as we stated earlier, retaliatory tariffs do not require parliamentary approval. So there's nothing about proroguing Parliament that actually stops us from responding to tariffs. They suggest the true intention of prorogation was to stymie efforts of opposition parties to bring a motion of non-confidence in the Liberal government. Quote, an 11-week shutdown of our federal government's legislative branch by the executive branch without lawful authority represents a grave threat to democracy, our parliamentary system, and the rule of law itself, McKinnon and Lavranos argued in seeking an expedited hearing. Wow, you'd really love living in Ontario then. The thing. It would be intolerable for such a situation to persist any longer than absolutely necessary. Thus, an urgent hearing of this matter is required to resolve the issues raised in this case, one way or the other. Federal lawyers said the request for an extraordinary truncated timeline for the review of important constitutional questions should be rejected. The claim needed for an urgent remedy is misstated and unjustified, the lawyers said in a submission to court. The government will continue to function, including through the executive's conduct of foreign relations and economic trade policy during the brief time period Parliament is prorogued. The federal submission added that established jurisprudence makes the dangers of expedited adjudication of constitutional cases clear. Quote, such cases involve complex issues that require careful analysis, and courts should insist that they be carefully prepared and presented. In his ruling, Crampton said the factors in favor of expediting the hearing include the urgency of the matter, the fact that the core relief sought will become moot if the court's usual timelines are not abridged, and the public interest in determining the serious issues expeditiously. Crampton said these factors collectively outweigh any prejudices the federal government and interveners may suffer, and the fact the court will not have the benefit of, quote, any additional or better submissions parties may have made if given more time. In addition, no other currently scheduled hearings will be delayed by expediting the case at hand, he said. So when these things happen, people usually freak out. My take on this is always at first, sometimes you need to take a case like this to establish jurisprudence. Now, to me, it seems very obvious that the Prime Minister of a country has the right to use prorogation. And as I stated in the show earlier, just the fact that Parliament was paralyzed, not paralyzed, that Parliament was unable to get anything passed due to the motion of privilege and had been for several months, the Prime Minister could have asked for prorogation on that basis alone. Okay. So I don't see where they have a case. I think that the Prime Minister invoked prorogation so he can, stymie a confidence vote. So, and therefore he shouldn't be allowed to do that. Okay. But there's nothing in the rules that says he can't. It's almost like the Airbud rule. Nothing that says that a dog can't play basketball. No rule that says that the Prime Minister can. He goes to the Governor General. If the Governor General says, yes, I think you have a good reason, that's pretty much all it takes. So I don't think that they have a case. So, but I'm not a constitutional expert. I just can't see on the face where there would be a case. So this would seem to me the type of case that a judge says, well, yes, we need to expedite it because, if we make this wait 9 months and Parliament resumes on March 28th, then what was the point? It's too late. It's moot. So we're going to advance it, but I'm hoping it's being advanced to say, you father muckers are crazy. This is not a thing. And now we didn't think we needed to test this in law, but I guess we do. So now we know. Now the court says what should have been obvious to you by reading the damn Constitution. So, and the rules of Westminster parliamentary system. So right. I'm hoping that that's the reason why this case was taken on. So just to create the clear precedent and that nobody can use that again for this type of thing. I don't like that they did it. That's not a reason enough. Right? You need a legal justification. Now back to the other thing here, what we're talking about to get the special dates here. It's also very much up in the air whether the incoming Prime Minister will stick with March 24th as the preset date for the new parliamentary session to get underway with the speech from the throne, as stated in the vice-regal proclamation issued in conjunction with the prorogation. As pointed out in a previous process nerd, at any point between being installed as Prime Minister and March 23rd, the new leader could decide to bypass the scheduled parliamentary return and just roll the dice by asking the Governor General to drop the writs for a general election. Depending on exactly how such a move would play out, the earliest possible date for Canadians to head to the polls would be April 21st, with April 27th also on the table if they wait a little longer to make the call. If, however, the new leader decides to face the House of Commons after all, their newly inherited minority government could find itself on the wrong side of a confidence vote within days, quite literally as March 26th is the final day of the supply cycle, which is also the deadline for MPs to approve the interim estimates, which would typically include billions of dollars in proposed new spending. I'm still not clear when they come back whether or not they have to do the estimates and then it's the speech from the throne, or the speech from the throne then the estimates.
I don't know.
Because both of them are confidence votes, so it's like which one comes. That part I'm not clear on yet. At last check, all three opposition parties were still publicly pledging to vote to bring down the government at the first opportunity, which would force the new Prime Minister to make another trip to Rideau Hall, possibly that same night, but more likely the following day, which would lay the groundwork for an election as early as May 5th or as late as May 20th, presuming that May 19th is off the table by virtue of being a federal holiday. Plus, if the new Liberal leader is still in office on May 18th, he or she will officially inch past Sir Charles Tupper's 68 tenure to become the second shortest serving Prime Minister in Canadian history, although surpassing John Turner's 79 days may be a bit too optimistic. So that's from the process nerd. Okay. Mr. Grizzly, do you have the little clip I sent you for Mr. Christopher Phelan? From her launch?
You didn't send me a clip for her.
I'm just wondering if it got to you.
I don't have anything.
Yep. Okay. Really weird. I keep sending stuff to you, but maybe? It doesn't. No, that's okay. maybe it got stuck in my like I said, stuck in my inbox.
Outbox.
Outbox. Yes, outbox.
There's
Oh,
the
and
difference.
direction for a dancer, I'm very
Yeah.
directionally challenged. Okay, just sent
Overcooked,
it to you.
undercooked. Straight to jail.
Now, Mr. Grizzly does have a clip. It's something she did after this that is really, really, really interesting.
Do you have a start time for this? Because this is an
yes,
hour
I
and
do.
20 minutes.
Yes, I do.
It's not.
Yep, I have a start time. So now the one thing I want to say is what I said yesterday, because when I said it the first time, I said this was bad.
Mhm.
This was a really bad event, and we're not going to show you the whole event now. We're going to show you pretty most of it the start. And for those who are listening at home or listening just on podcast version, this is not going to be very interesting because the scenes from the crowd are a lot of applause and Freeland, that type of stuff. You have to sort of see what's going on this one. So it might be a little less interesting for you. I apologize. And we're not even going to get into the meat of the speech. Mr. Grizzly showed you one of the portions earlier. As you could tell when you were listening to her, right? She was saying a sentence, and it was pretty slow and plodding. And then when there was a big gap, and then she'd go another sentence. The whole speech was kind of delivered that way, which was slow. And like, this is a campaign rally, right? You're supposed to be like enthusiasm. And it seemed like every line she was waiting for an applause line. For some applause.
Okay.
There
Pause
was like
for
time
applause.
left for
Was written in the speech. Pause for applause.
for everyone.
Yeah.
And as
Didn't
you know
work.
by now, her event was disrupted by pro-Palestinian protesters several times.
Yes.
Well,
that's interesting that anybody can get into the event, unlike the conservatives, where everybody is basically run through a ringer. And if you have ever said anything in your life that is negative towards the Conservative Party of Canada, you will not get in the door.
Yeah. So
just
I said it was bad, and I said it was bad, and then I decided, and I actually fell asleep to part of it. And when I said I wanted to watch it again because maybe I was a little unfair. And we're gonna start, Mr. Grizzly. Sorry, here. Find the time for you. 16:21 will be the time. And I thought maybe I thought, it's long. But then when I looked at the timestamp after the whole event took about an hour and 20 minutes beginning to end. Normally these things take about 35, maybe 40 with a Q&A. There was so much delay, it took that long. So when I was when I wanted to rewatch it to see like if my assessment was fair, although I've heard a couple of other people talk about it, and it seems that they share my initial assessment that it was just bad. And some people are even saying that she's already done. Right?
Look, I think her time has passed. Honestly, look, if she becomes Liberal leader, the party's done, because too many people have her tied too closely to Trudeau, and no matter how poorly he handled, and he handled it very poorly, her dismissal, it was terribly done, and she kind of got a little revenge on him by throwing him under the bus, which is fine because he did not do that right. It was wrong what he did. And I don't agree with it. But I think because she's been attached to Trudeau for so long, I don't think she's got a hope in hell, to be honest with you. I don't think she's got a snowball's chance in hell of winning anything. Now, maybe she's got confidence of the caucus, but that's irrelevant. Caucus doesn't elect her; it's delegates that do. And I think that enough delegates go like, no, we need fresh blood. We need an old white man in there to steady the ship. And I think that is what is going to take place. I think Mark Carney will be the next Liberal leader, and in turn, he will be Prime Minister. For how long he'll be Prime Minister, we don't know, but I think that's the case. I think her time has passed. Like the window of opportunity that she had is closed on her. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm getting the vibe of the nation. And because she was tied so closely to Justin Trudeau for 9 years, I think that's not going to reflect well on her.
Yeah. But there's also a matter of choices, right? One of the reasons it seems that her rally was interrupted so many times because nobody else's rally was interrupted.
Mhm.
But this type of protest it seems that she has been very, 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 very firmly in the pro-Israel camp.
Yes.
In terms of
There's no
other
mistaking that.
comments. So she is a particular target for this.
Mhm.
Now, the event started, as I mentioned the other day, the music at which she came into was Man Eater.
Mm.
So a little bit of a branding there by Nelly Furtado. There's some pre-speakers that usually come to these events. Sometimes there's not, but sometimes there's one. She had many. First, she had a young Canadian who met her
Well,
through
let's get to that
volunteering.
later. Let's just get right to her now, and
Hold
we can
on.
deal with that afterwards.
I'm not going to be showing those.
Okay. I thought you wanted to show them.
No. First, she was speaking to a young Canadian who met her through volunteering through her sorry. Try that again. A young Canadian who met her through volunteering for her through her constituency office. She said what she had to say. Then we had MP Stéphane Lauzon, who spoke in French almost exclusively to send sort of a shout out to Quebec. Also talked about rural Canada. Then Mark Holland came in and spoke again a little bit in both language, testified, about their friendship and what he knows about her. Then she brought on her children to speak about her, which is often done in these types of political things. Usually happens a little bit more U.S., but which is done. Children, fantastic. Her son, funny. Her daughter, absolutely delightful. Spoken English and French. Again, sends another signal to Quebec. Like, hey, look, I speak French. My children speak French better than I do. Right? So we've bought into this thing. It's always risky to do that because when you bring your kids in, some people then they believe they're fair game. But they weren't making any political statements. They're just saying, talking about their mom. So usually that's fair game. Then she starts speaking. So she comes out to Maneater. There was some type of glitch there because there was almost like a minute wait between the music starting, like somebody announced like Christian Freeland, and she actually came out. Took like about 40 or 50 seconds, so that was a little odd. But then she comes to the stage and she starts. And now, Kits and Cubs, the reason I'm showing this to you is because these are probably, and I don't think we're going to watch them in full. We'll go through, but these are some of the most 20 most painful minutes probably in Canadian politics recently.
Afraid, and I'm not going to back down.
I don't think that 15, 21, Mr. Beaver?
Yes.
And no one in this room is going to back down, and no one who stands with us across the country is going to back down. Canadians are just not going to put up with it. You can have a different point of view, but you cannot stop others from speaking, and you cannot stop our democracy.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay?
I'm sorry, what?
This is not at all what it is.
That was the 1621 start point. That's exactly where I started it.
Okay, that's very weird. All right. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's where I started. At
Yeah,
1621.
I am flustered. Sorry.
It happens.
I'll go and look back at my notes, see if I missed something. Nope. I screwed up. I gave you the wrong time.
It happens.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I see what happens. I see what happened.
What?
Okay. Yep. This is not the same feed. Okay. They edited it down to take off the stuff at the beginning on this one.
Well,
So
this
it's
is
not the
1
same
hour
time.
and 20
It's
minutes.
not the same. Yeah, it's not the same timestamps I noted when I watched it on Sunday because they edited it down. So you've got the global news one?
Yes.
Okay. Then,
That's
yeah,
the one
you
he's
can just
doing.
start right at the beginning then. Sorry. My bad.
All right. Hold on a second here. We'll try this again.
Merci. Et bonjour, chers amis libéraux.
So thank you and welcome, dear liberal friends.
Thank you so much, Subin, mon cher Stéphane, the big Mark, for your kind words. And thanks so much to all of my caucus colleagues who are joining us here in person and virtually. And to my children, Haya and Ivan, дуже дякую. I love you guys so, so much, and I'm really grateful to you. A person who is doing my kind of job, and maybe all of us, like we sometimes worried that our kids get mad at us for the work we do, so that was very nice to hear. I am so...
I want to stop it right there for a minute. She looks more relaxed here than I've seen her in a long time. Like she looks like her stress has been lifted off her shoulders. That's just me. That's just my observation. But it looks like she's had some rest and relaxation because she has looked stressed for a while, and she does not look stressed here, which I think is a good thing because stress is a killer, as you all know. And she doesn't look stressed here. She looks very relaxed.
So, as you can see, she gets a couple of seconds in, already being interrupted, and everybody in the audience just starts yelling, Freeland, 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 clapping, drowning her out. So I'll have you stop it there, Mr. Grizzly. And I sent you the other feed so we can get the correct timestamps for you. I sent you the CPAC one, which is the one that I had because the global one got edited down. The Kits and Cubs, when they do the live events, when you're watching them live, there's the camera there sometimes before something's happening and catches all that time. And then it starts.
There's
and
no
then when they
timestamps, though. I have the CPAC
yeah,
feed.
I will give you the timestamp. I will give you the
Okay.
timestamp. And when they cut it, and then when they repost it after the live event, they take all that stuff off. And then, so if I'm watching it on the live feed and I know the timestamps, and then I go and bring back the clip and I give it to Mr. Grizzly, and it's the edited one down. All the timestamps are off by all the time that was up there before with nothing going on.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what happened today here. So to 1934. So in the timestamp, the original timestamp that I gave to Mr. Grizzly, right? She started speaking at 16:21. She got interrupted about a minute into it. It took about 2 minutes for them to find that one person, take them, and then get them out.
Mhm.
So now we're at 1934. So we're about a full 3 minutes after she first started speaking before she can start speaking again.
Thank you. I am so glad to be here at the St. Albans Boys and Girls Club today.
All right, we can stop it. Again. And we can go to 2047. So the first time it happens, she handles it with a thank you and continues, right? Doesn't acknowledge it, tries to go through. She gets to speak for fewer than 10 seconds. Someone else.
So, thanks again. I think we have shown that when we are a team, we can do anything.
Okay, let's stop. Let's stop that one, Mr. Grizzly, for a second. That's not a good response.
No. No.
When we're a team, we can drown out anyone. And that voice thing she does, we can do anything. Welcome to the liberals. She seems to think that if she takes any word and punches it like that, it gets necessarily is going to be applause. And that type of thing has to be at the end of an actual applause line. That doesn't. You shouldn't be proud of yourselves for having. I mean, they shouldn't be. There's a respect thing down here, but again, this is the second one, right? And you have to understand that no matter how you feel about this protest, there are people in that room who are doing this. There might be people in that room who are doing this. There was one person who they caught leaving on camera yelling, it's like I've had family members die there, So there are the performative people in this movement, but there are always people in this movement that have people that they love and care very much over there who have died.
Oh,
yes,
yes,
always
of course.
a reality here.
Of course.
Right? Okay. Keep going.
We really can. And I'm so grateful to be here with such an amazing team. And I'm glad to be here today at the St. Albans Girls and Boys Club. This is...
Did you get that little subtlety there?
Yes.
Girls and Boys Club is usually called the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
That's its official name is the Boys and Girls Club. She switched it around. I thought that was kind of cool, actually. Yeah.
This is a really special place in our community, and it's a really special place for me. In my office in Ottawa, I have a beautiful painting of a Canadian flag made by kids.
And you see someone comes up to the stage there right next to you. All right, so we're now, I don't know what the timestamp says, but we're now probably a solid 5 minutes in. She started at 16:21.
22 minutes.
So we're solid 6 minutes in. This is all she's been able to say so far. That's... And now... You hear some of the people in the crowd starting to say, get out, get out. Starting to sound like a Polyev rally, right?
Yeah.
When we watched Mr. Stewart.
She seems a little rattled now.
Yes. Now she started, because somebody came up to the stage the third time.
I guess some people are really scared of Canada fighting back. I guess someone really...
Okay. She gets interrupted again. I guess some people are afraid of Canada fighting back when people are coming to protest because they claim some genocide is going on, family members. Again, She's trying to stick to her script and make it fit.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
I'll go back there and see if we can hear what she said.
So now you can tell that the crowd is starting to feel a little sorry for her, right?
Yeah.
When they're trying to create excitement. How many times can you start off your campaign launch speech with enthusiasm and whatnot if it be genuine, right? So this is where I'm wondering, like, if I had been unfair when she finally got around to being able to speak.
We are not going to let anyone disrupt our democracy.
Protest is democracy.
Yeah, and the way I'm like, what? This is not an election. You're announcing that you're running. There's nobody's voting today.
Yeah.
Protest is part of democracy. So yeah, it's not good.
Now here's the thing that I'm wondering, right? And in the moment, I don't know if you can think about this because adrenaline must be going crazy at this moment. She's trying to keep it there, and you got to find a way to come out of these now 5 times. Right? 5 or 6 times by this time. I don't know what I would do or advise in this situation, but it seems to me that by this time it's like I would realize, okay, that this is an organized thing. They're planted across the room, one speaking here, one speaking there, rather than all of them are disrupting at once. There's probably more. We don't know how many.
I would have invited them to come up and talk to me.
I would have changed track somehow, right?
Change it immediately. Change tack immediately and go.
This tactic is not working.
Okay, what are your grievances? Come up and talk to me. And then you look like somebody who is A, diplomatic, and B, wants to try and help, and you're willing to listen. She kind of shut them down. It's not a good move. Now, I recognize that they were there just to be shit disturbers, okay? But some of them weren't. Most of them were. But it's like, okay, come up and talk to me then. I would just say, get them out of here. No, come up and talk to me. Let's have a conversation. We've seen the Prime Minister do that on many occasions. When he's in a space like this, he would have a conversation. And I remember specifically one where a woman screamed at him for her hydro bill, and he says, well, I'm terribly sorry about that, but you're going to have to take that up with your premier, because that falls under provincial and municipal matters. It's not a federal matter. We don't control Ontario Hydro, hence the name Ontario Hydro. You'll have to speak to them about that, and your premier. So you need to get in touch with your MPP and your city councillor, because if your hydro bill is that high in a rural area in Ontario, I want to help you, but I don't have the power to do so. And she still walked away angry, but it's like he did teach her a lesson and teach her a basic civics lesson on the responsibilities and who's responsible for what. He did engage with people when they were being assholes. She didn't. And this is not a good look for her. And I'm not knocking Chrystia Freeland as a human being. I'm knocking her as a politician at the pulpit, for want of a better term. and I don't think she handled it well. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. I think she handled it poorly.
Yeah.
We definitely believe in and we need a diversity of views in our country. Now is the moment to launch a political campaign. Now is the moment Now is the moment to stand up and fight for Canada. For our great and amazing, beautiful country, our country that needs us to be united, that needs every single person and every single supporter across the country.
And again, she gets disrupted. And you can see that every time she's starting back, she's trying to find a way back into the rallying, try to create the moment, which only makes her repetitive.
She had a moment here to really address these people, bring them all up and say, okay, what do you want to talk to me about? What do you want to talk? I think that would have been the better route.
Is important, and we are a free country. We're a free country. And one of the great things about our country is that people are free to express dissenting points of view. But what is not okay is to get in the way of others expressing their point of view and putting forward their position.
And there I do agree with you. That's kind of doing that, isn't she?
That is not what democracy means. That is not okay. And that does not make Canada strong.
So gets disrupted. Now again, that line would have been way more powerful had she had stopped earlier, tried to have a conversation, it not happened. Right? Let's say they wouldn't allow it to happen. And then she said that line.
Well, and I do understand that having a conversation with these folks would be like talking to a brick wall. But I think engaging them for a few minutes
Yes.
would be better diplomacy.
Yes.
Because you'd have to engage them and say, well, I don't know what you would like us to do as a nation. Israel is a sovereign nation. Are we going to invade their borders and declare war on them because of what's going on in Gaza and the Palestinians? You know, we don't have the military might to do this. The United States does. We don't. So how are we supposed to fix this and make it better? And
they would say that we
question.
should probably, like boycotting everything to put pressure on the government and then using everything that we have to like pressure the government of the United States too. Right?
We can't, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, really, we can put sanctions and trade sanctions, but what else?
But see, and here's her point about stopping other people from expressing themselves is a point I made, because that's the problem I have, for example, when people keep on invading Pride Parade to make it about their thing. It's like,
yes,
it's our damn day. It's not like don't express yourselves. Hold your own damn parade.
Right.
Organize your own activity. We did all this work and you're just overtaking. And then again, some people say, hey, you got to make your voice heard. The voice has been heard. They've been present enough many times. It hasn't been obeyed. What they want has not been given, but nobody can say they have not been heard overall. Now, in this particular instance, however, when she's saying everybody has a right to protest, because, okay, they're protesting. It's one of the great things about Canada. Okay, engage with the protest. Then, in this case, if it was just one person and they rushed him out of the room, or two people, they did, and then it stopped. But at this point, again, this strategy is not working.
Yeah,
you need to engage in some way.
It's not good.
it sounds like there are a lot of people in this room who want to hear what I have to say. And a lot of people across the country, too. And I want to tell you all, I am not going to let anyone stop me from working with you. From talking with you.
See what's happening now?
Mm-hmm.
The pause, every line gets applause.
And from talking about how we together are going to stand up for our amazing country. We're not going to let anyone stop us, are we?
Just
And
start
I
the
think
speech.
we know the harder they try to stop us, the more it means that people are afraid of us, right?
Okay, stop that. The people trying to stop you today, I know you're speaking metaphorically in general,
Yeah.
but the people trying to stop you today are not people you should be happy are afraid of you.
This is just not good. This is the reason why I think Mark Carney will win. Okay, he's an elder statesman, blah, 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 blah. You know, he's well accomplished. He's incredibly intelligent. He's good at what he does. He knows how to talk to people. But he doesn't have a history, politically speaking, in the sense that she is a lightning rod for anger and hatred coming from people in this country because she supported Israel. She's been tied to Trudeau for 9 years. I think her timing is off. Maybe come back in a few years and do it again, but I don't think this is the time for her. I really don't. She's literally grasping at straws here because I think the vibe of the Canadian people across the country is like, nope. No, seen her too long, been in the public eye too long, leader fatigue. She's tied to Trudeau. She supports Israel too, whereas Carney doesn't have any sort of long track record of this. Karina Gould, I think, could kick some serious butt, and I'm eager to see what her campaign looks like.
Oh, fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I like Chrystia Freeland, don't get me wrong, but I think she's the person you don't want to cross.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is like almost like the ultimate intellectual, the ultimate technocrat, trying to do politics. Right? There's no doubt she's brilliant. There's no doubt she's accomplished. There's no doubt she's an incredible strategist. There's no doubt. But politics is about managing people, handling and managing expectations. Dealing with what is possible, but being very clear. You're supposed to be clear about what is not possible or what will not happen is not on the table. This is not it. This is not it. It's not the right tone. It's not the right approach. It's not the right display of people skills. It's even the going out of your way to say girls and boys club and putting man eater on there like this, the whole sort of like feminist angle. That's as subtle as a sledgehammer to the forehead in this case.
Agreed.
I am the dragon lady that Trump is afraid of and that Putin's afraid of, and I even took down the prime minister.
Yeah.
Yes, but and then what? I'm going to use this force and this determination to do this for you, right?
What have you done for me?
That needs to become an asset that can be put to the use of the nation, to you. The fact that you did these things, and you got to be able to sell it. and you got to have a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's almost like the Pierre Poilievre thing. Couldn't pivot. Tried to find a way to work where she was next in her script but couldn't really pivot because you don't want like that. Like I said, that last bit, that means there are people. Yes, if you're talking about the conservatives, that they're afraid of us and a political, but when you're juxtaposing that over the moment that this protest is going on, and you're like and that while you're extremely book smart, but did not have the political street smarts to see that that was not the best way to come out of that particular one. That's the thing with politics is you have to be present, but there's like about 10% of you that needs to be over there watching what you're doing as you're doing it, pre-censoring what it is you're going to say as you're, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, let me try that again. I would like to, because it's going to come out wrong. Like you need that person right there. You need to be able to do both. And I don't think she has the person watching her doing what she's doing while she's doing it.
Mm.
She doesn't have that ability to see herself doing things as she's doing them. And trying to figure out how am I coming across in this moment. There's more. But I think you get how painful.
I've had quite enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm good. I've got my fill. Thank you.
Right. Now, again, it's not fair because unlike everybody else, she did not get the chance to put her best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
That was taken from her.
Agreed. It was.
You get one chance to make a first impression. Like, that was taken from her.
Mm-hmm.
But also, as we have seen when the prime minister has handled these types of situations, while they are adversarial and while they are a setback, they also can be an opportunity. And she did not even attempt to go down that road.
No.
Later on, when she's speaking, the people that have been thrown out were then banging on doors out, like boom, 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 here like this. It got noisier and louder and louder and louder. She was interrupted something like 13 times or 12 times before she could actually get started. So
it's not a good look.
When that finally happens and then you start your speech, you've already lost the room.
It's
all
over
the excitement that people had was all there. So the applause, it's all you can tell, right? It's everything just sees for. It was not good. It was not good. It was just not good. She had some good lines. That whole segment that we showed you, where she said what Pierre Poilievre was weak, wasn't really delivered with that much punch, though. That needed to be faster. I mean, that more tone, more inflection, more energy. So yeah, I have a feeling she might be toast.
I think so too.
And Mr. Grizzly, this is the clip that you wanted to show about her on the news the other day.
Yes, I have that.
I think this may have sealed the deal.
Well, if it's the same one we're thinking of, this one is just kind of.
Because again, if you're watching it for the soap opera or the entertainment, this was like a ooh. But if you're watching it for who's going to lead the country.
Let's go back to the disagreement you're having with the prime minister, because let's say you win this race. Of course, there's several people in the race right now. If there was a disagreement in your cabinet, how would you handle things differently? Like if your finance minister came to you and said, Prime Minister, I think we're on the wrong track here. How would you tackle that differently than what the experience you've had was?
Well, probably I wouldn't tell my finance minister I was going to fire her the day after she delivered the fall economic statement. I probably wouldn't say that 3 days before she was supposed to deliver it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting note there.
Step one, right?
Okay. The question was, If you had been Prime Minister and you had a finance minister, how would you handle that situation?
Mm-hmm.
Paraphrasing, well, I sure as fuck wouldn't have let me know 3 days before I do it to give me time to prepare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you're watching the soap opera, oh, damn, snap. That's a good clapback. But who's going to lead the country? Ms. Freeland, if you do have a cabinet issue, how do you resolve that? That tells you nothing, does it? Tells you nothing.
Just wasn't good.
That question, if you are listening to the question, as Pierre, I'm asking you to just present to Canadians how it is you would lead.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your management style. Tell us about your leadership style. In a job interview, that's what that question is. You have to listen to the question and actually answer the question and see what the question's about. The question is about your leadership style and how your people skills and how you manage people. I sure as hell wouldn't have given me 3 days warning to come and take out a plan, to figure out a plan of how to take you out. Also translates to shouldn't have hired me.
Yeah, there's some pettiness there for sure. Got a new one from Slogan Boy, in case you haven't seen this one.
Probably haven't.
Please try and explain this to me because I don't understand it. Canada first, Canada last, Canada always.
Last?
Yeah, exactly. Bring it home.
And the way he says it, always.
What does that mean? I'm not going to play this because
idea.
it's his annoying voiceover music and I don't want
I
to hear
have
it.
no idea.
Canada first, Canada last, Canada always.
I'm sure that's
like who comes
like
up with this shit?
I think it's a paraphrasing of a quote that already exists.
Maybe, but
because that sounds like a structure I remember.
Maybe it is, but I don't remember it. And here's the problem: if I don't remember it, I'm going to guarantee you most Canadians don't either. Because I'm usually pretty good with the quotes, right?
Oh, it's a Wilfrid Laurier.
Oh yeah, so something from
Let
over
your motto
100
be
years
Canada
ago.
first, Canada last, and Canada always.
Okay, yeah. That famous conservative, Wilfrid Laurier.
that famous Anglo-Saxon, Wilfrid Laurier.
Yeah.
I think Pierre just created a Quebec error because back in 1904, Canada, that word was different to French Canadians then than it is now. O Canada, our national anthem, was actually written for the Saint Jean Baptiste Day.
Correct. Yeah, first Canadian Francophone Prime Minister.
This guy...
He's really reaching on this one because I didn't even know that quote.
He's so bad at this. I'm so sorry.
Well, he was Prime Minister until when was he in? Let's see. He died in 1919. No, he was in office till 1919. Sorry.
Oh my God! You know what?
But he wasn't PM at the time. Prime Minister of Canada from 1896 to 1911. 15-year tenure remains the longest uninterrupted term of office among Canadian prime ministers, and his nearly 45 years of service in the House of Commons is a record for the House. Laurier is best known for his compromises between English and French Canada. Studied law at McGill University and practiced as a lawyer before and elected to the Legislative Assembly of Quebec in 1871. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
This is, okay, like if I was doing a movie right now, right, this is where I would take oh God, who was the American that did that? I wish I would take him and I would put him on the stage and go, sir, I knew Sir Wilfrid Laurier. You are no Sir Wilfrid Laurier.
That was in reference to Dan Quayle, who thought he was like JFK. I knew JFK. You were no JFK. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Oh, shit. This guy. Sorry, excuse my language. Okay. So that's basically
like he's really reaching for that one, though. He's quoting Sir Wilfrid Laurier, Liberal Prime Minister, French Canadian from Quebec, from Montreal.
What a guy.
On a quote that's well over 100 years old that I wasn't familiar with.
Shit.
That's a serious reach.
That's a big reach. All right. One last thing.
I guarantee you, not a single one of his followers or supporters will even bother to look that up or understand who it was from. Not a single one of them.
No, they'll probably think he came up with it.
Yeah.
I was sitting there and I was going like, something first, something last, something always. That rings a bell. I heard that before somewhere.
It's an obscure one, though.
But I thought it was something else first, like segregation first, segregation or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of.
Miscegenation, I think it was. Or segregation. Oh, you're thinking of what's his name? Yeah, the American. Segregation first, segregation last. Yeah, that was what's his? No, I can't remember his name now. He was shot, and then he changed his ways after being an assassination attempt.
Yeah. Oh God, I wish I could. Yeah, they can't. You think that would be easy to just look up? I was trying to find it, but no, can't find it. But yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
We got to wrap. I got to
get that was as the schools were being integrated, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, kids and cubs. Like I said, lots of stuff going on. Quick notes, as Mr. Grizzly mentioned. Inflation, the latest numbers came out down to 1.8%. People are still thinking that the Bank of Canada is still on track to lower interest rates, despite that. And we had better job numbers, and unemployment rate went down 0.1% as well in December. So that announcement will be coming up from the Bank of Canada soon. And the other thing I had for you is President Biden, I mentioned yesterday some pardons. I didn't mention this one, but he sent a message on the way out because Biden granted activist Leonard Peltier clemency.
Oh, about time. Leonard Peltier, by the way. Peltier is how he pronounces it.
Yes, because the American. Sorry. Yes.
Okay,
Peltier.
so this is mind-blowing because just the other day I was thinking to myself, I think it's high time that Leonard Peltier gets granted clemency and maybe a pardon and he did it. I was like, holy shit, Biden did it. Wow, that's mind-blowing because I literally was thinking about that the other day.
I had missed it completely, and I just saw it just moments before leaving office. U.S. President Joe Biden commuted the life sentence of Indigenous activist Leonard Peltier. How do you pronounce it? Sorry?
Peltier,
who was convinced in the 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents. He was denied parole as recently as last July and wasn't eligible for parole again until 2026. He was serving life in prison for the deaths of the agents during a standoff on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. He will transition to home confinement, Biden said in a statement. And Biden has set the presidential record for the most individual pardons and commutations issued, announced on Friday that he was commuting the sentences of almost 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug offenses. He also gave a broad pardon for his son Hunter, who was prosecuted for gun and tax crimes. But where Peltier is considered here, the fight for his freedom is entangled with the indigenous rights movement. Nearly half a century later, his name remains a rallying cry. An enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa in North Dakota, Peltier was active in the American Indian movement, which began in the 1960s as a local organization in Minneapolis that grappled with the issues of police brutality and discrimination against Native Americans. It quickly became a national force. The movement grabbed headlines in 1973 when it took over the village of Wounded Knee on the Pine Ridge Reservation, leading to a 71-day standoff with federal agents. Tensions between the movement and government remained high for years. On June 26, 1975, agents went to Pine Ridge to serve arrest warrants amid battles over treaty rights and self-determination. After being injured in a shootout, agents Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams were shot in the head at close range, the FBI has said. Also killed in the shootout was American Indian Movement member Joseph Stuntz. 2 other movement members, Robert Robideau and Dino Butler, were acquitted of killing Kohler and Williams. After fleeing to Canada and being extradited to the United States, Pelcher was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced in 1977 to life in prison, despite defense claims that evidence against him had been falsified. Last year, the Assembly of First Nations reversed 37 years of support for Pelcher, citing his alleged role interrogating murdered activist Anna May Pictou Aquash, a Mi'kmaq woman from Nova Scotia. So there you go. Just a little bit of tidbit, because I grew up hearing his name a lot, and it's like, oh, well, what do you know? Do we have a show, Mr. Grizzly?
We do indeed.
All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you would like to support us, for example, by not wanting to miss a version of our audio-only episodes, then you scan that QR code. And if you're listening, it brings you to podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click subscribe there, boom. Hey, before you know it, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. Now, if you'd like to help and support us in other ways, for example, by liking and sharing and subscribing with our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, well, then please go down there and you will have Kits, Elaine, and Cassie ushering you in and asking you to smash with our buttons. And that will definitely help us with the algorithm. So thank you so much for that. Now, if you would like to help us in yet another way, you might want to leave us a little something to say, hey, we like what you do, and we would like to encourage you to do more. And that, of course, helps us underwrite the costs of bringing the show to you. And you can do that by going to the emergency hydration fund here at the Beaver Lodge at our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And you can do as did, well, here it says, Kit, live, love, and laugh today. Thank you both for the work you do to help us navigate these difficult times. Very informative. Give yourself a pat on the back. You both deserve it. Well, thank you so very much. That was very kind of you.
Thanks, eh?
Yes, we appreciate the support very, very much. So if you would like to do like Kit, live, love, and laugh today and leave us a little something to say that we did a good job, buy me a cup of hot chocolate, or Mr. Grizzly a cup of nice, hot, black, bitter coffee, then a little tribute there for your queen would definitely be very welcome. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, please don't worry, because the gift of your attention and your participation are the gifts that matter the most to us. And we love to hear from you, so please write to us at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge at True Eager, also at the Bad Place at True Eager, our original home on Facebook, True North Eager Beaver. And if you want to leave anything down in the comment section, please do here on YouTube if you're watching. And a little shout out, I believe, to Kit Laney, I think it is, who did write us a question on our Facebook page, asking us specifically about our continued presence on Facebook page because of recent rule changes with Meta, allowing to say that people who are rainbow, for example, have some type of mental deficiency. And given that I am a member of the rainbow community, which was a very fair question. And so in case any of you are wondering that, my answer simply to that is the answer to the question is the same if I had been asked about Twitter, that we simply refuse to let people chase us from our home.
Exactly.
When it comes to our Facebook thing, that's where we started out. It's our first home. Our most loyal kits, our first kits, all came from there, right? So, there's a bit of a sentimentality to it as well. However, we are preparing for that what might be coming. So we've established a presence on Blue Sky with a view to growing it beyond what we have on Twitter and making it the dominant one for those types of platforms for us. And we will be developing and using our coffee page more as a sort of de facto website so people can kind of gather there. So if you're having problems with what Twitter and Meta are doing, we do have other places, and we're building other places for you as well so that you can have that experience, right? But those are basically the reasons we put a lot of work into it, and those are our homes. And until it's very, very clear that there is no way for us to be there like this, then we will return. We will go to our refuges that we have set up. But right now, we're not in obey in advance mode. Simply. And that answer apparently was appreciated. So thank you so much. And thanks for asking the question. All right. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Remember, if you're in Quebec, the Liberal leadership race in the province happening. And in Canada, you have until the 27th, so 5 more days, 5 p.m. Eastern, to register to vote in the Liberal leadership race. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yeah, in these crazy, tumultuous times, try not to let the haters, the trolls, the bots, the evildoers, for want of a better term, get under your skin. Remember, together, united together, we can defeat evil. So let's unite.
I think that's very good. Mr. Grizzly, please, I'll have a quick Easter egg, but just real cue the cock. Thank you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Gets and Cubs, just a little note because you know I'm a tennis nut. Australian Open is on, and Gabriela Dabrowski, again, from our doubles player, has reached the semifinal of the tournament. We'll be playing, she's the number 2 ranked team along with her partner, Aaron Routliff, and we'll be playing the number 3 ranked team. 3 of the top 4 ranked teams made the top 4 in the draw, which is relatively rare, actually, oddly, at a Grand Slam. So it's going to be some good competition. I'm pretty sure TSN will be holding the match for those who want to watch that. So go, Gabby, go. Yay, Ottawa.
I've got something for you that you got to see to believe. This is like just classic projection, for want of a better term. Franklin Graham tells me on my podcast that National Cathedral has fallen into the hands of LGBT activists. So it's not surprising this, in quotes, Lady Bishop spewed hate at Donald Trump today. National Cathedral has become a sanctuary of Satan.
Yeah, that's
because she asked for compassion and caring, and in this case, what do we say?
Powerful man in the world, please use your mercy.
So in this case, we say, what, hail Satan, I guess? Come on.
Here's the thing, right? It's like, be godly and use your immense power to show mercy to the vulnerable who are afraid in this moment.
Yes.
She's evil. She's not really good at her job. Trump put out this whole thing like this. She owes the nation an apology.
Well, Trump has also
basically
ICE arrests in schools. Trump has authorized ICE arrests in schools and churches. So there's no sanctuary in America. None. Zero.
There's no sanctuary in America. So yeah, he's just trashed her like left, right, and center. And it's sort of like, I'm just sitting there and it's like, so what you mean to tell us is that your answer to is be merciful is like, she chose to worship her God more than she worshiped me. How dare she?
Effectively, yes.
These people, man.
I'll see you.
Have a beaverific day.